Hello everybody, this could be the start of a new series if you guys would like. Of course, this will be very different than most of the content on this channel, if not all of it. What this is going to be is a what if I, Bolt, was in the Pokemon anime. So this will be a story mostly just of my adventures through Kanto. If you would want me to continue on with the journey through Johto or other regions, I can, but it's fully up to you guys. I'll take your feedback. If you don't want any more of this, I won't. If you do, I'll continue. These will take much longer to get out than my other videos though, so these will probably run at the same time as a Nuzlocke. So, let us begin. Keep in mind, this takes place 1 year before Ash begins his Pokemon journey. And this takes place in an alternate timeline, just put me in there. I do not take the place of Ash. I start my journey a bit later than most, between age 14 and 15. So I leave my hometown of Viridian City with my partner in tow, an electric that my father brought back from his travels in other regions. But before I can even think about taking on the gym challenge, I have to go to Professor Oak's to get a Pokedex, so I can register for the Indigo League. While I'm there, I notice a Pokeball just sitting on the table. I ask Oak about it, and he says 2 trainers that came by picked the other 2, but left this one behind, and no one else is coming for a while. He says if I will have it so it isn't just sitting there for like a year. I decide to take it, and I get a Bulbasaur out of the interaction. After I get my Pokedex and Pokeballs, I head back up to Viridian, say goodbye to my family, and make my way up through Viridian Forest. While in Viridian Forest, after doing a bit of training with my Pokemon, I encounter a man dressed as a samurai and decide to have a battle with him after he challenges me. He starts with a pincer and I start with my electric. I start with a Thunder Wave to paralyze his pincer to slow it down, and I then call for quick attacks so my electric can use hit and run strategies. But right as Electric is about to finish Pinsir off, it lands a Guillotine right as Electric hits a quick attack, knocking them both out. I then send in my Bulbasaur, but this is her first fight, so I'm a bit nervous. But the dude just sends in a Metapod, which I'm able to stall out with Leech Seed quite easily. After that battle, I make my way towards Pewter City, and after resting at the Pokemon Center, take on the gym. The gym leader is named Brock, and he starts with a Geodude. It's a 2-on-2, and I'm lucky enough to have 2 Pokemon with me. I start with a Leech Seed, but Brock counters with a Rollout, and the Leech Seed fails to land. But after being hit by a Rollout, I ask Bulbasaur to hit a Sleep Powder next time Geodude aims at, which it does, and when Geodude's rolling straight at, lands a Sleep Powder, and is able to land a Leech Seed, and then after a while, the Leech Seed takes effect, knocking out the Geodude. Then Onix comes in, and I try and use a similar strategy, but it fails after Onix uses Dig and hits Bulbasaur throwing into the air and then finishing with a Slam, knocking Bulbasaur out. So I end up sending my Electric, who has a huge disadvantage as it is an Electric type versus a Ground type. So I tell Electric to climb onto Onix's back with a quick attack and latch on with Bite. So Onix either has to decide of feinting to bite or slamming itself in the back. Anytime it tries to attack Electric, I ask it to use quick attack to dodge, which it does for a while. It is eventually hit by a slam, throwing Electric off into the ground, but Onix has been severely weakened by this point and is able to be finished off by a bite. So, once the battle is over, I am handed the first gym badge. After helping out Brock a little bit around Pewter, I head my way down Route 4, and spending the night at a Pokemon Center right outside of Mount Moon, which I have to cross through the next day. I find a shady salesman selling a Pokemon. And it's only 500 Pokeball dollars, and I was able to get that from my last gym battle, so I decided to splurge and purchase a Magikarp. I know this thing evolves into something incredibly powerful, so I'm quite excited. After heading through Mount Moon and coming across a bunch of different trainers, none of which very noticeable, as well as a meteorite, though, which I take a sample of, and a fossil, which I find while trying to clear away some rubble. After I make it through Mount Moon, I head for Cerulean. After I spend the night at the Pokemon Center healing up all my mons, I make my way towards the Cerulean City Gym. But sadly, none of them want to battle me and are just trying to give me the gym badge. I don't want to take it, so I decide I'll probably come back later and see if they want to fight then. Luckily, on my way out of town, I ran into this orange-haired girl, and she says she will bow. She is the sister, and technically a gym leader, of the Cerulean City Gym. So, I battle her, and it's a 2-on-2. So I start with my Electrike, and start with a quick attack to get in close. Once I'm close, I use a bite. And once latched on, I use a point-blank shockwave, which is able to knock out Staryu. Then comes in Starmie, and I decide to keep Electric in, which ends up being a very bad decision, because after landing a single shockwave, he goes down to a Psychic. After that, I send in my Bulbasaur, as Magikarp really is an option, and Starmie immediately lands a Psychic, which deals a lot of damage. Luckily, Bulbasaur is able to hit a Sleep Powder and then a Leech Seed. But Starmie wakes up incredibly quickly, hitting another Psychic. To save herself from fainting, though, Bulbasaur ends up evolving into Ivysaur and learning Seed Bomb. The battle is long and hard fought, but Seed Bomb and Leech Seed end up finishing off the Starmie, landing me the Cerulean City Gym Badge. After taking on Nugget Bridge with a couple different difficult battles and meeting Bill, but not too much, I start make my way down Route 6 to Vermilion City for the next gym battle. I am a bit confident, and I would say too confident, because Electric has Lightning Rod, making him immune to Electric-type moves, so I was just going to ride high and strong on that. So I decided to take on the gym incredibly too soon, and we begin the battle. I send in my Electric, and he sends in his Voltorb. When the battle begins, I start with a Quick Attack, and Surge starts with Thunderbolt, which is absorbed. After Quick Attack hits, Surge calls for a Self-Destruct, taking out Voltorb and Electrike. I then send in Ivysaur as Surge sends in Magnemite, but Ivysaur isn't able to do much damage to Magnemite. Ivysaur's Grass and normal type moves can't really do much, so Magnemite ends up dealing too much damage to Ivysaur, knocking it out. I then have to switch into Magikarp, who is one-shotted by a Thunderbolt. After Surge berates me for not being able to survive in war, I head off to train. I ask around to see if there's any ground types nearby, as I know Electric is weak to ground. Apparently there's two. One in Diglett's Cave, which is always there. I wonder what Pokemon. And another that's a bit rarer but can be found around here. So I decide to head towards Diglett's Cave, since it seems that one's much more common. So I enter Diglett's Cave, and there's just tons of Diglets everywhere. But anytime I try and capture one, or start a battle with it, it digs away and disappears. But I do see a group of Diglets all huddled together in the corner, attacking something. I get closer, and I see they're attacking a Sandshrew. I jump in to try and defend the poor thing, and send out Ivysaur, and tell it to use Seed Bomb. But the Diglets dodge the attack and use Dig, which lands. I then think of an idea to slow them down, so I use Leech Seed on the ground to create roots, which slow them down and make it much harder to dig. This ends up working, and I'm able to hit a Seed Bomb. But this just makes them angrier, and the three Diglets start to glow, and they evolve into a Dugtrio, which is much faster and sort of just cuts through the roots without caring, and is able to hit a incredibly powerful dig and taking out Ivysaur. After seeing me try to protect it though, the Sandshrew jumps in front of me to protect me, and we decide to fight together. I start by calling for a defense curl, try and build up its defense, as it is hit with a dig. I then think of an idea, which is to wait for the Dugtrio to use dig, and then ask Sandshrew to use Bulldoze, which breaks up the battlefield, forcing Dugtrio up. Once it's up and it's disoriented, I call for a rapid spin, which hits Dugtrio directly, knocking it out. After seeing how strong it is though, I end up throwing a Pokeball and catching it, adding the Dugtrio to my team. I thank Sandshrew and move on since I got the ground type I was looking for, but it ends up following me and I ask if it would like to join my team. It does, so I end up capturing Sandshrew as well. I got 2 ground types for the price of 1. After training with these Pokemon and getting to know them a lot better, I see that Dugtrio is too unreliable as it still won't listen to me and is very uncooperative. So I can't really use it in the gym battle. So I decided to rock with the squad of Electrike, Ivysaur, and Sandshrew for the gym battle. So I return to Vermilion City and begin the battle. I start with Electrike as Surge starts with Magnemite. Luckily, Electrike is able to use Quick Attack and Bite to throw Magnemite to the ground, and I'm able to switch into Sandshrew before Lieutenant Surge can react and finish off Magnemite with a Bulldoze. He then sends in Voltorb, and I can tell he's going to use Self-Destruct to try and take out it. But I can't really switch in anyone because they'll be taken out. So I call for a Defense Curl as Voltorb uses Self-Destruct. But this time a blue bubble forms around Sandshrew to protect it. I recognize this move as Protect, and congratulate Sandshrew on her new move. I then switch her out for Ivysaur for his last Pokemon, which turns out to be Raichu. I start off with a Sleep Powder, which misses, and Ivysaur's hit with a powerful Quick Attack. I try to use Leech Seed, but Ivysaur misses that as well, and I end up just telling it to use Tackle to try and get hit off. And it does okay damage, and Ivysaur is finished by an Ice Punch. I then send an Electrike, which starts to rush in with Quick Attack, but is batted away by Raichu's tail. So I asked Electrike to Shockwave, which does minimal damage, but has started to aggravate Raichu, causing it to charge. I tell Electrike to catch it with Bite, and Electrike does, but still takes a nasty hit, throwing into a wall. But Raichu's still laying down, and Raichu is able to finish off Electrike with another Quick Attack. I then send back in Sandshrew, who is able to protect from an Ice Punch and finish with a Bulldoze. And that is my 3rd gym badge. After traveling through Rock Tunnel and having to chase Dugtrio around because he keeps trying to escape me, I end up heading to Mr. Fuji and to a man called Mr. Fuji and ask for help with my Dugtrio. After doing some special training with it, Dugtrio has started to not want to run away as much and doesn't attack all my other Pokemon. Just Sandshrew now. So, better than nothing. I decide to head towards the Saffron City gym as it's the closest one. And before I take on the gym, I decide to take on the Fighting Dojo and train there. I'm mostly just training Magikarp and Dugtrio though. So, sadly, Dugtrio doesn't move along too much, it still won't listen. But Magikarp, while battling the Dojo Master in a 5-on-5 battle, ends up evolving after Ivysaur is taken out and sweeps the rest of his team. But once the battle's over, it's still rampaging around, so I send back an Ivysaur and it calms down. But this is a huge power boost and should be really good. To clarify, this is more like a Lucha Noivern situation. It's not lovey-dovey. But after the battle, he offers me one of his Pokemon. I end up declining since I need to focus on Dugtrio's training at the moment, just so it will actually listen to me. And right now another mon would just make it even harder. But I thank him for the offer. After hearing how hard the Saffron City gym is, though, and seeing how much I struggled with the Dojo Master, I decided to head on to the next nearest gym, which is the Celadon City Gym. It's not very far, so it takes me about a day's journey to get there. And before I take on the gym, I do what every responsible teenager should do: gamble. So after spending like a night in the Celadon Game Corner and buying a TM for Flamethrower, which I end up teaching Electrike, I then decide to head to the gym. Once I make it to the gym leader says it will be a 3-on-3 battle. As she starts with the Bellsprout, I start with my Ivysaur. She starts from the Ingrain, and I start with a Tackle, which uproots the Bellsprout and throws it into the wall. I then ask Ivysaur to use a Seed Bomb to pin Bellsprout down into the corner. Then I ask Ivysaur to use Tackle as the Bellsprout uses Headbutt. Ivysaur wins the head-to-head and Bellsprout is knocked out. She then sends in Tangela, who she commands to use Wrap, which traps Ivysaur, who tries to escape but is unable to after she lands a couple of Seed Bombs, she is taken out by Wrap and Power Whip. Gyarados then comes out of anger, not my own decision, who's easily able to finish off Tangela with Ice Fang, throwing it into the wall, knocking it out. Erica then sends out her final Pokemon, a Gloom. She tells it to use Sweet Scent, which ends up distracting Gyarados, and then she puts it to sleep with Sleep Powder. I decide to switch into Electrike to try out its new move. I tell Electrike to use Flamethrower, which catches Erica off guard. It hits the Gloom, but the Gloom is still standing. Gloom then hits a Sweet Scent to distract Electrike so it can use Mega Drain. I then realize I have to end this battle quite quickly, or Gloom is just going to heal back up and it's just going to be a reset. So I tell Electrike to use Quick Attack and Bite, which luckily he lands, and then use a point-blank Flamethrower, which completely decimates Gloom. After that rough gym battle, I get the gym badge. After that gym badge, I feel confident I can take on Sabrina. So I head back towards Saffron. Once I reach there, I head for the Pokemon Center. But once my Pokemon are healed up, I decide to take on the gym. This gym leader is seriously creepy though. She's speaking through a small child or doll thing and demands a one-on-one battle. I send in my Gyarados as she sends in her Abra. So I think I got this in the bag overall. But Abra just keeps using Teleport and dodging around Gyarados' bite. And keeps using Hidden Power, which is doing an insane amount of damage to Gyarados. Sadly, Gyarados ends up going down. After that, it was like I was asleep. I can't remember anything. Apparently, I was missing for a year, though. Apparently, I was turned into this doll by that crazy gym leader for a year. But I was released when a trainer from Pallet Town finally defeated Sabrina. That kid in my life. But now I need to defeat Sabrina for real. Mostly just so I can get out of the city and not stop seeing her face. So I go off to train. And I let my Pokemon out for the first time in a year. None have changed too much. Dugtrio's still a jerk. And all the others are still quite nice. But I have to do something I've dreaded since before I was turned into a doll. I have to train Dugtrio. Because it's my fastest mon, it's the only mon that's going to be really able to keep up with Kadabra. So, fun. But I end up training everyone in speed just to make sure if Dugtrio does go down, I still have a shot. Everyone learns a couple moves, like Gyarados and Electrike learn Crunch, Gyarados learns Waterfall, Ivysaur learns Double Edge, Sandshrew learns Gyro Ball. It's all great. So I head back to the gym and challenge it. She says it'll be a 2-on-2, and I start with Dugtrio. She sends in a Mr. Mime, and Dugtrio rushes in with a Slash. So quick that Mr. Mime doesn't have a chance to react. I then tell Dugtrio to use a Sand Tomb, which traps Mr. Mime in place. But this makes Dugtrio start to get a bit overconfident and stop listening to me. I tell it to use Dig, and it doesn't, and stands there trying to taunt the Mr. Mime. Mr. Mime ends up hitting with a Psychic, which deals a lot of damage, and then Dugtrio listens to me and finishes with a Dig. But because of this, Dugtrio is easily finished off by the Kadabra that comes in next. We still have so far to go with them. I then send in Gyarados, as I assume it wants revenge. I start with a Scary Face, which hits and slows down Kadabra, which works because Gyarados is able to grab Kadabra with Crunch and throw it towards the wall. It teleports before it hits the wall, but still. Gyarados then begins to flail wildly, trying to bite at Kadabra. It lands one after a while, and is able to throw Kadabra into the ground, and then finish it with a waterfall. That was a long time coming, and I'm glad I can finally get out of this city. Sabrina does say that she'll owe me a favor, though. I'm going to need a lot more than a favor from her, though. Oh well. Well, I get the gym badge and move on. After that, I make my way down Route 12 to Fuchsia City for my next gym badge. On my way, I come across a Scyther and battle it to try and capture it. It starts with a Sword Stance while I start with Shockwave, which hits but doesn't deal too much damage. It then rushes in at me with a Quick Attack and deals a lot of damage to Electrike, throwing it back pretty far. Then begins to use Fury Cutter, while I tell Electrike to dodge with Quick Attack and fire off some Flamethrowers, which creates Scyther. But damage does seem to be starting to pile on Scyther, and the fire is beginning to spread. And in the end, both realize the next attack is going to deal them in. So they both charge in with a Quick Attack, and Electrike and they meet in the center and both fall. I run to go check on Electrike, and when I check to see if Scyther's still there, it's gone. While I'm saddened by the loss of a capture, I congratulate Electrike and move on, unknowing that I'm being followed by that Scyther. I then decide to check out the Safari Zone, as I hear it's a quite cool place, and while trying to capture a Nidoran, I accidentally capture a Venonat after it jumps in the way. Not annoyed by it, just not what I was going for. But with this new capture, I decide, since Dugtrio ain't listening to me, I decide to keep her on the team, even though she doesn't seem too keen on battling. I'm planning to use Electrike, Gyarados, and give Venonat a chance in this gym battle after I hear it's a 3-on-3. And I begin the gym battle. I start with Venonat against Koga, who sends in its evolved form, Venomoth. Sadly, Venonat's already nervous, so I try to calm her down and ask her to use Sleep Powder. Koga does the same and asks Venomoth to use Sleep Powder. Luckily, mine seems to have better accuracy and hits its Sleep Powder while Koga's misses. Then I ask Venonat to use a Psybeam, which lands a direct hit, dealing a lot of damage, but it wakes Venomoth up, which it hits a Psybeam of its own, which throws Venonat back. They begin having a beam battle with both connecting. Venomoth ends up winning out, but in the confusion with the smoke, I'm able to land another Sleep Powder, and then use the favor Sabrina owed me, and use Dream Eater, which ends up taking out Venomoth and healing Venonat up a little bit. I decided to switch out once Koga's Golbat comes out, and switch into Electrike for the type advantage. But the problem is Golbat starts with a Supersonic after I use a Quick Attack, causing Electrike to rear into a wall. I call out to Electrike to tell it to use a Shockwave, which luckily grazes Golbat. Golbat begins to charge in with a Ring Attack repeatedly. Electrike is starting to get weak just from confusion damage and repeated attacks. So I call out to it again, but this time, right as a Wing Attack is about to hit Electrike, it begins to glow, throwing Golbat back, and evolves into a Nectric, which then fires off a move I recognize as Discharge, which hits Golbat, dealing a lot of damage. My Nectric is so fast that Golbat can barely keep up. And with the combination of Discharge and Crunch, Golbat is really close to fainting.
but its bond with its trainer is so strong it begins to glow as well. Me and Koga are both surprised by this, as it's incredibly rare to happen anywhere, but there's never been a recorded case in Kanto before. And the Golbat evolves into Crobat, which is able to match Manectric's speed in the beginning to have a high-speed fight with quick attacks and wing attacks clashing. I call for a flamethrower to try and give me some space, which I am able to, and catches Koga off guard. I then wait for Crobat to dive in for another wing attack and land a discharge, which ends up scoring the knockout. Even with Manectric being weak from the fight, his Scyther isn't as well trained, and I'm able to take it out, winning the gym badge. After I leave the gym, that same Scyther from earlier appears and challenges me to a battle. It seems to set up Swords Dance similar to last time, but Manectric, being much faster this time, catches Scyther off guard and lands a discharge, which throws Scyther back. But Scyther is able to hit a slash at close range, and which also deals a bunch of damage. But once Scyther begins to wear down, it begins to glow a bright green and seems to get a second burst of energy as it charges with X-Scissor, which hits and almost knocks out Manectric. Then I remember Scyther's ability, Swarm. When it gets low on HP, its bug-type moves get a boost. So, the battle is far from over. I tell Manectric to use Flamethrower on a pool of water nearby to create a smoke screen. When I do this, Scyther uses Double Team as well, but I use Discharge hitting all the clones. The actual Scyther was hit quite hard and is almost fainted, but it charges once more to hit an X-Scissor, but falls right at Manectric's feet, seconds away from hitting. I then go to check on it, and after the Scyther sees and accepts that it's lost for the Great Battle, it wants to continue to battle Manectric, so it allows me to catch it. I end up switching it out for Venomoth, as Venomoth is not very keen on battling anyway, and plus, my mother always liked fluffy things. So I continue my journey to Cinnabar. I end up riding on Gyarados there, as I'm not going to pay for a ferry, but it does mean Gyarados will be a bit more tired for the gym battle. I decide to use the team of Gyarados, Dugtrio, and Sandshrew once I hear that the gym battle will be a 3-on-3, but even before all of that, I decide to head to the Fossil Research Lab and revive the fossil. I find out it'll take a little while, so I decide to just go ahead and take on the gym. Blaine starts with a Ninetales as I start with a Gyarados, who is still tired from carrying us over here, so I won't be at full power. He is able to land a Scary Face to slow down Ninetales and then land a Crunch as Ninetales uses Sunny Day, throwing Ninetales into the ground. But because Ninetales ends up getting pinned by Gyarados, Gyarados is able to just keep hitting waterfalls until it's knocked out. Though Gyarados is hit with a Will-O-Wisp as well as a Sunny Day boosted Flamethrower, so he's not in the best condition. Blaine then sends in Rhydon. That's not a fire type. I know that Rhydon's incredibly powerful, so I end up switching into Dugtrio. So, I end up trapping it in place with Sand Tomb, and then going in with a Sucker Punch after it tries to strike. It looks like I have it on the ropes, and it looks like it's going to be very one-sided, but when I try and use Dig, Rhydon counters with an Earthquake, which forces Dugtrio up, and it's knocked out. I then send back in Gyarados, who, after landing a Scary Face, is finished by a Head Smash. I'm now beginning to think that we're almost over, so I send in Sandshrew with kinda low heart. I call for a Gyro Ball, which scores a direct hit, and a Fury attack from Rhydon doesn't deal much damage. But then Rhydon tries to land a Horn Drill, but Sandshrew protects and is able to hit back with another Gyro Ball for a knockout. Blaine then sends his final Pokemon to Magmar. I'm still nervous, but I call for a Sandstorm, which was what we were focusing on training a lot, and Sandstorm fills the arena. Before it can finish, Magmar hits a Fire Blast, which almost throws Sandshrew into lava. She is barely holding on. I call for a Gyro Ball to get in close, and she dives into the Sandstorm. And with Magmar unable to see, it gets hit from a couple different angles and begins to fire blast wildly around. The only sight I see of my sand shrew is a glow from inside the sandstorm, and jutting pieces of earth shooting at Magmar, knocking it out. Once the sandstorm clears, Sandslash is standing there triumphant. It has learned Earthquake and has won me the gym badge. After the gym battle, I head back to the lab and revive my fossil, and it ends up being a Kabuto. I don't put it on the team for now and send it home, as I'll be heading back over there anyway soon. I do end up passing by Professor Oak on the way there, and just talk to him about stuff. Apparently the kid that saved me was from here and left a little while ago. I hope I get to battle him one day. But time for my next gym battle. After checking into my home and seeing my family for the first time in 1.5 years and having dinner with them and my Pokemon, I head towards the gym. Once I hear it will be a 4-on-4 double battle between two people that I don't recognize as the gym leaders, I decide to give Gyarados a break and send an Ivysaur and Venonat. The two people start with a Golem and a Kingler. Thought this was a ground gym, but oh well. And I start with a double Sleep Powder. With Golem being too slow to dodge and Kingler using Protect, Golem falls asleep. I call for a Seed Bomb and a Dream Eater on Golem, which deals massive damage as Kingler sets up a Sword Stance. Golem does wake up and hits with a Rollout on Ivysaur as Kingler charges with Crabhammer, which also hits Ivysaur. But she is still holding on. So I call for a Leech Seed on Kingler, which thankfully lands as Venonat finishes Golem with a Sludge Bomb. They then send in Rhydon, which starts with a Horn Drill, which thankfully misses Venonat, but my team has been put on the defensive with both going to take massive damage from if either of the Pokemon hit. Sadly, Ivysaur is eventually hit by a Horn Drill, knocking it out, but ends up landing a Sleep Powder on Kingler before going down. Venonat then uses Dream Eater to heal itself back up from an attack it's been hit by, and I decide to send in Scyther. It uses Double Team and fishes off the Kingler with a X-Scissor, but the Rhydon then whips up a Sandstorm, which destroys all of the Scyther's clones, and then hits the real one hard with Head Smash. As Machamp comes out, he was able to finish off Scyther when it wins a head-to-head between X-Scissor and Cross Chop. As Gyarados is too tired from carrying us around, I send in Kabuto. But after it lands an Aqua Jet with Rhydon hitting a double edge at the same time, it gets thrown back and knocked out. The two people then begin to boast about how they're going to steal my Pokemon and how I'm all weak in that. But once Venonat hears that her friends that are in danger, the friends that have protected her, she steps up, or should I say flies up, and evolves into Venomoth. And then first I call for a Sleep Powder. She does this and then uses a new move that she learned, Whirlwind, to blow the Sleep Powder all over the arena, putting both the Pokemon to sleep. She then ends up finishing up Rhydon with a Dream Eater, also healing herself up. But Machamp wakes up too quickly, and it's now a standoff. It is having trouble hitting Venomoth, but it hits a rock slide every once in a while, and unfortunately for me, it was poisoned when I hit it with a Sludge Bomb, and its Guts is activated. So Venomoth ends up having to dive down to dodge a rock slide, and has to land a good clean shot in, or it's going to faint. Luckily, right before Machamp lands a Dynamic Punch, Venomoth is able to fire a Sludge Bomb straight into the face of Machamp, knocking it out. And since all their Pokemon are defeated, they have no choice to hand me the badge after some persuading from Gyarados. So that's my final gym badge. I decide to head to the Indigo Plateau for the Pokemon League, but I still have 1 month. There's still 1 month, so I decide to train up all my Pokemon, with a lot of them learning new moves, but nothing too big. And the first few battles of the Pokemon League are very easy. There's no really good battle until like the top 16, where I meet a guy with a Marowak. And he starts with Marowak, of course, and I start with my Kabuto. I start with an Aqua Jet to try and get enclosed, but I am hit away with a bone club. And Marowak starts to charge with Bone Rush. I use Aqua Jet to dodge, but am hit a couple times. But the training has vastly improved Kabuto, who is still in this, and then uses Leech Life to gain a bit of HP back. He is then hit with a Boomerang, and Marowak charges with another Bone Rush, so I call for an Endure. And after Marowak hits all of its shots, Kabuto lands an Aqua Jet directly in its stomach, throwing it away, knocking it out. He then sends in his undertrained Lapras, which is easily taken out by my Ivysaur, and then his other Pokemon also falls to the Ivysaur in the top 8. My next battle goes smoothly, and I'm in the top 4. And at the battle, this person calls Suna, who's powerful Pokemon. It's a 4v4, and after looking at our team, I choose my Pokemon to start the battle. I start with my Venomoth, as so does she. I call for Sleep Powder, as she goes for a Psychic, which throws Venomoth around, but the Sleep Powder is let out, and I call for a Whirlwind, which blows the Sleep Powder towards Venomoth, and it hits. I then call for Dream Eater, which heals a little while dealing a lot of damage, and then I finish with another Dream Eater. Sadly, her Rhydon comes in and finishes Venomoth after it lands Sludge Bomb, the Head Smash. So I send an Ivysaur and it uses Seed Bomb on Rhydon, which hits, and then I call for a Leech Seed to tie Rhydon up, which sadly misses, and Ivysaur is hit with a Double Edge, throwing it back. I then use Double Edge as well, and use Leech Seed when the two Double Edges collide, and it ties Rhydon up. I then finish with a Seed Bomb. Next is her own Ivysaur, which starts with an Acid, which misses but leaves a puddle on the floor. And I call for a Double Edge, and she calls for a Takedown. Both meet in the center, and we seem to be pretty even until my Ivysaur begins to glow and evolves into Venusaur, which makes it able to easily overpower the other Ivysaur, and ends up hitting Ivysaur with a new move, Sludge Bomb, which takes it out. Our next Pokemon, Tentacruel, stands no chance to Venusaur, and I win the battle with Seed Bomb. I'm in the final 2 now, and it will be a 6-on-6. I decide to use Manectric, Venusaur, Gyarados, Scyther, Venomoth, and Sandslash. While I am sad I can't use all of my Mons, Dugtrio's too unreliable, and Kabuto is still not that experienced. So I start the battle with my newly evolved Venusaur, as he starts with a Kingdra. I've never seen this Pokemon in person, but I know it's a Water Dragon type, so I start with a Leech Seed, which misses, as he sets up a Rain Dance, which speeds up Kingdra. I decide to switch into a Pokemon that can match its speed, so I send in Manectric. He starts to jump between the platforms to dodge Kingdra's strikes. He then jumps up into the air and uses Discharge, which hits Kingdra after it tries to dive into the water to dodge it. It floats up and is hit with a Crunch and a point-blank Discharge, which finishes it off. The dude then sends in a Magnezone, which hovers over the water, and is hit by a surprise flamethrower, but Gyro Ball hits hard and is able to finish off the damaged Manectric with a Tri-Attack. I then send Venomoth to have an air-to-air battle, and the battle forces is a battle between Dream Eaters and Thunderbolts flying all over. All but it results in a double knockout when a sleeping Magnezone uses Gyro Ball right before it went to sleep and is finished with the Dream Eater right as it hits. I then send in Gyarados to take advantage of the watery field, as he sends in Clefable. I start with a Scary Face and dive under the water for a surprise attack, But he sends in Raichu, and before I can recall Gyarados, uses a Thunderbolt, electrocuting the entirety of the water, knocking Gyarados out. The battlefield then switches to an Earth battlefield, and I send in Sandslash, who sets up a sandstorm as she hides in the sand. She fires off an earthquake as chunks of the earth hit Raichu, who is thrown out of the sandstorm by a Gyro Ball and knocked out. He then sends in his own Sandslash, who also jumps into the sandstorm, and all we can really see is bright flashes from when Gyro Balls meet, and the earth shaking. We're calling out moves, but it's impossible to see if our Sandslash are even still in there. But once the sandstorm eventually subsides, we see both Sandslash in a head-to-head with Gyroball. Both are thrown back and knocked out. I then send back in my Venusaur as he sends in Clefable. Due to Clefable's slow nature, I'm able to land a Leech Seed, but it doesn't seem to do anything besides slow it down. So I start firing off Sludge Bombs as they're met with Double Edges and Moon Blasts. When Moon Blast and Sludge Bomb connect, the Sludge Bomb wimps out and Clefable is defeated, but leaving Venusaur highly damaged. As he sends in his final Pokemon, Dodrio, Venusaur is easily finished by a quick attack. So I send in Scyther and set up with a Swords Dance as the Dodrio rushes in with a Drill Peck, which sadly lands a direct hit. I then set up a double team to confuse the Dodrio, but it just uses Tri-Attack to mow down the clones. I then call for a Night Slash, which, when Dodrio is not looking, and it lands a decent amount of damage, but Scyther is thrown away with a Jump Kick. But once Scyther gets up, it begins to glow green, and its scythes grow larger and rushes towards Dodrio with an X-Scissor, which is powered up by Swarm. Dodrio's not expecting this sudden burst of energy is hit directly with the X-Scissor, with powered up by Swarm. We both know that the next hit's going to win the game. So Scyther charges with X-Scissor, while Dodrio charges with Drill Peck. When they connect, the Scyther disappears as it was a clone, and the real one appears above, landing an X-Scissor straight on Dodrio's neck, knocking it out. I won. I won the Indigo League. I could not believe it. All the struggles, all the heartache, all the time as a doll, and I won. And I could not be prouder of my Pokemon. Though I have the right to battle the Elite Four, I do not think I am ready. I do not feel I am strong enough. So I decide to take on the neighboring region, Johto, and decide to take on its gym challenge. But I don't want to bring my entire team with me, as that would just make it no fun. So I decide to only bring along my Manectric and the Pokemon that won me the league, Scyther. And a new journey awaits. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that first episode of my Pokemon journey. If you guys would like me to continue into Johto, we can. It is fully up to you guys. Give me some feedback. Do you like this? But if you guys do want me to continue into Johto, it will take me a while, as I would have to write a whole new story. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Goodbye.